Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pleasance, I'm going to turn to you for some questions just to lead up to them. As you note in your testimony, for 86 years, AOPA has stayed true to its mission of protecting the freedom to fly, guiding, protecting, and promoting this uniquely American experience so we can pass it along better than we received it to the next generation of aviators. And with that in mind, I think now is probably the most important time for AOPA's mission and its criticality, as I describe left-wing activists seeking to destroy the ability of folks in the United States to travel as they see fit and to exercise their freedom in private aviation. And with that in mind, there are efforts being made regarding aviation fuels to seek to make it prohibitively expensive in this mindless pursuit for sustainable aviation fuels. We've not only attempted to subsidize SAFs, that goes back to the Obama administration. We've done that. It's you know, among other things, it establishes a government-created market for ethanol under the guise of environmentalism. And then, of course, we've got to have the jobs that, you know, that they just have to continue for this, for the new market that was created, this Soviet-style program. The tax credits are $1.25 per gallon, up to $1.75, and after this January, now we have a production tax credit for 35 cents a gallon as the base, up to $1.75. And beyond that grift, there's another grift for in the IRA, which created a $250 million competitive grant program for the blending, storage, transportation, et cetera, of fast aviation sustainable fuels. We have a long history, an assorted history of subsidies, but even after all this, it accounts for 0.3%, and the goal by 2030 is 3 billion gallons, of which we are about 93 million gallons. We're far, far from that. And with that in mind, the cost associated, production cost, 2 to 10 times that of regular fuel, 2 to 10 times. You know, aviation is expensive enough on its own, but paying 2 to 10 times more for fuel just because we can make it when we have abundant fuel otherwise is like, it's like quite literally, it's crazy. But beyond that, the people that want these fuels don't think that that's enough, right? That's not even enough for them, particularly for GA pilots. They want you all to fly less. And that's the only thing that's going to appease them. Let's face it, the only thing that's really going to appease them is that when you don't fly at all. So with that in mind, as the leader of AOPA and thinking particularly about the increased price of fuel, which increases the cost of flying, what is AOP's plan to address what I would characterize as an insane activism to jack up the price for fuel and to have us, you know, end this misguided Quixotic mission to use something other than what has worked for decades upon decades now safely and is abundant and is affordable. What's your plan?
Yeah, thank you, Congressman, for the question. And you're right, this is, at AOPA's core, is out protecting our collective freedom to fly. Fees and expenses are just an underlying constraint on that mission. And you mentioning SAF and the, I'll say, broader set of fees, the ones that I talked about in my opening statement, whether it's FBO fees, landing fees, insurance, all these costs begin to add on top. So we wake up every day looking at how those fees are changing over time and what role can we play in helping to drive those down. To your specific question then, you know, I think we take several tacks on that. You know, one is, where is the future going? So you talk about SAF, I can use another example would be unleaded fuel, going from leaded to unleaded fuel.
That's my next one, the Eagle Act, and then another crazy initiative where, you know, literally some airports have banned regular fuel and it's resulted in accidents and incidents. All for no reason. There's absolutely zero reason to do any of this, and it increases the cost. So as the advocates for all GA pilots, like, where do you stand on? You can tell where I stand. Where do you stand?
Yes. Well, so we will resist everything that increases the cost to fly. right? Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be zero, because it does cost money to run the infrastructure and to produce the fuels that we use. In the case of unleaded fuels, that's one that we're probably more supportive than not, because there's only one producer of tetraethyl lead in the world over in the UK, and we're concerned about the future of the availability of that one. We're basically
Maybe we should subsidize that.
I don't know if we subsidize
We
that.
should, but
No,
that's another story.
But we have one producer in the world who makes that, so we as a country are beholden on one single manufacturer. So that concerns us. And for those of us who've used unleaded fuel, it actually works well in the airplane, so in the engine. So there are constraints between today and being able to widely roll a fuel like that out that we are concerned about, some safety-related concerns. But we'll advocate for that transition to be done in a safe and thoughtful way. More broadly to your question, though, around fees, a big part of it is pushing back, just like you are. I fully agree with, if you look at the full spectrum of fees out there, many of them raise serious questions as to the sort of the viability of why such a change would be imposed on what is, as has been said earlier, the most vibrant aviation ecosystem in the world. And for someone like me who's traveled the world and seen aviation across Europe, across Asia, it's remarkable when you come back to this country and see how vibrant it is and how widespread the use of general aviation is to support even the general public, whether it's medevac or firefighting and all of these practices that happen that unfortunately most of the general public doesn't realize. So I'll end with saying, I think one of the biggest things we can do with AOPA is to educate the public on how important this infrastructure is we have and how important this world of general aviation is to the economy and to their very lives, whether it's teaching the future airline pilots of the world to fly, whether it's handling a medevac flight, whether it's disaster recovering and delivering supplies to a post-hurricane environment. All of those things are general aviation. And my hope, and we fight this battle every day, is that as more people hear and appreciate the value that general aviation provides, some of the crazy stuff that's happening out there gets less momentum because people do want to support what we all know and love so much.